Peymon who?
Mata Heyday.
Peymon Lata Heyday. Who is he?
Never paid taxes in 30 years. Fought the U.S. tax court and won.
See, I believe our rights come from God, not from government.
Hello to my truth and freedom-seeking friends. I am Peymon Montahede, the president of Freedom Law School, and on this November 4, 2025, I will cover the third part of our series about do you want an honest government in America? And if you do, the grand jury is the answer. This is part 3 of the 3-part series. If you have not seen part 1 and 2, go and do that first. Jurypower.org is where you will find more detail about this topic. Normally, as president of Freedom Law School, I talk about income tax. Why you don't have to pay income tax at all if you are citizen and resident of the 50 United States. But here, I'm going to focus on grand jury powers. And I'm going to focus and relate it, however, here to if you're one of those people who's sent our petitions to your Congress members, exposing them to the fact that since 1913, the way the income tax law has been written has been deliberately deceptive to make people believe that they're filing pay income tax in the 50 states when they don't. If you've written to your congressman asking them to investigate this issue, verify what we're saying based upon U.S. government's official legal websites, if you've done that, if you're contacted by the government, what can or should you do? We're going to mix that with this because it's a good example of how the grand jury process is a key part of taking our freedoms back. What we're doing is everything under First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution protections, which guarantees your right to free speech, like I'm doing here, to associate with like-minded people, like I'm doing here with you, to assemble together, like I'm doing with you online, to publish material, like I'm doing with you right now, sharing information with you, okay, for the purpose of being able to petition our government for redress of grievances. In particular, clean up corrupt government. Government has a monopoly on lawful power. That power was given to make sure murderers and rapists and criminals don't hurt people. But that power gets misused and abused. And that's why the First Amendment, the right to petition, is so important to restoring our freedoms in America. That's why our students are writing petitions to Congress. Now, these petitions are available on our website, freedomlawschool.org, for free. If you have not done that, you ought to go do it for free. It's available. For our Restore Freedom Plan members, we'll do it for you. Make sure all your 3 congressmen get these petitions. Your House of Representative member, your 2 U.S. senators from your state, they all should get these petitions because they have the power to stop and clean up the corruption within the executive branch, the IRS, the DOJ, and the judiciary. Now it's become much more clear to many people since 2016 when Donald Trump came under attack by the corrupt FBI and CIA, aided by the corrupt courts at times. And the January 6th, where American people were railroaded for doing nothing wrong in Washington, D.C. You know, all that could be cleaned up by the legislative branch of the government, Congress of the United States. That's their job. It's their duty. They may not be doing it as they should, but it's all right to tell them to do their job, and we've done that, okay? So let me show you what these petitions look like, because if you have a beef with the government, it always makes sense to write your legislators about the problem. In a local area, if you wrote to your police and a district attorney about the crimes and they're not doing anything about it, you can go to the legislature. If the police and the legislature and the district attorney and the prosecutors, they're the problems themselves, or even the judges, they're the problems, okay? You go to the grand jury, but you can also go to legislators and write to them as well. With the income tax issue, we've spearheaded at Freedom Law School this effort, educate the people that represent us in the federal government. So these petitions that we do are, as you see, they're addressed to your representative and your senators, as I said before. And it's called the first of the three. We have three petitions, as you know, on our website at freedomlawschool.org. This is the first one, the most important one, on the income tax issue. Justification for congressional investigation of unlawful collection of individual income taxes. In these petitions, what do we do? Well, we lay the groundwork that we are writing to share some amazing discoveries about the federal income tax laws. And we ask our representatives, our congressmen, if you will kindly consider what I've discovered, I think you will feel like investigating further for yourself and will probably want to share these findings with your fellow Congress members. Yep. Now then in these petitions we go and have the law deciphered. The federal income tax law deciphered, exact quotes from the federal tax laws as published by Congress of the United States, Treasury regulations, okay, as published by the government, written by United States Treasury Department, and Supreme Court cases. Okay, that's all we have here. We have a reference to the Constitution sometimes. By the way, the 10 for income tax form and the instructions completely agree with all the analysis that we have here. Okay, now, at the end of these petitions, as you know, we have a very important statement, okay, that is an attempt on your part to be as honest as you can be about this issue. Do your part, do your due diligence, okay, and pay taxes if there's a law requiring you to file income tax. And if it's not, don't, okay? And that ends here. We conclude that I am not liable to pay for income tax. That is what you do with the petitions after all that stuff, okay? And you see in the petition after you sign it, all the laws that we are listed in there are quoted are listed here. In this case, A through K. And all of them are also attached. So for the convenience of the reader, the legislature, they can verify that everything you're saying is really the law as found on U.S. government's official legal websites. So then what we do in these letters, as you know, we tell our Congress members, right, that if by reading this letter with the laws quoted above, they can show that you and I do owe federal income taxes, that you and I will gladly pay all taxes due and consider that to be our fair share of taxes. Yep. Whenever they try to cheat, everybody should pay their fair share of taxes as provided explicitly and clearly in law. That's what the U.S. Supreme Court has said. We agree with that. Okay? So, however, we ask our lawmakers this. When your independent research verifies that my discovery that the U.S. individual income tax does not apply to average Americans like me in the 50 states, I urge you to educate other Congress members about this matter and see if they agree that this justifies conducting an investigation to expose the truth about this government renegade conspiracy and put an end to impoverishing Americans. And I look forward to your timely, specific, and on-point reply. Okay? Sincerely, your name is right there. So, we're going out there saying, look, show me if I'm wrong. I pay my fair share, but my fair share is 0. Because the law says the people of the 50 United States do not have to file income tax. Citizens and residents of D.C., Washington, D.C., they have to pay income tax. Federal workers that work in D.C., they have to pay income tax. Okay? Payroll taxes got to be paid by certain people in 4 U.S. island territories of Puerto Rico, Guam, Virgin Islands, and American Samoa, not the rest of us, okay? Anyhow, so we have written this to a congressman. You've done that, and you, like me, have stopped paying income taxes because, I have not filed and paid income taxes for over 30 years and teaching Americans like you to do the same legally and safely by relying on the law. Again, you will remember these words as found on U.S. government's official legal websites. Remember that term, because that's the term you keep want to bring up. You're not going off some wacky patriot mythology theory like uniform commercial code, yellow French flag, name in capital letters, birth certificate, revocation of election, name it all capital letters, straw man, and on and on. No, no, no. None of those ridiculous arguments. We're going on the law as found on U.S. government's official legal websites. So now, you may have an occasion a government agent comes and contacts you about what you're doing. How come you don't pay income tax? I'm going to talk to you about income tax on you or anything about that. What you do is what? You give them a copy of our petition. That's right. You wrote the petition to Congress members by certified mail. You should give a copy on paper and also one on your computer scanned in case something happens to paper. You have extra copy paper around and you give it to these IRS agents. That's right. Especially special agents. Criminal agents, if they come after you, contact you, say, hey, look, here it is. This is the law. You should do your job and follow the law as well. And leave the people of the 50 states alone. Focus on citizens and residents of Washington, D.C., who you are empowered to go after for not paying their fair share as citizens and residents of Washington, D.C. Okay? So, not only the IRS agents, you have this position with them. If you're contacted by the Department of Injustice, DOJ, same thing. You give them the petitions. Here it is. Follow the law. In fact, I'm asking you to uphold your oath, to uphold and defend the U.S. Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, by exposing this to the supervisors, everybody else, and stand up for freedom for Americans like you're supposed to. That is why they all take an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution, folks, as a way of upholding your rights, your freedoms. So you do that with the IRS, give them a copy, give a copy to DOJ, right? And then the grand jury, same thing. The grand jury also, you will contact them, okay, as opportunity comes, if you get before them, and present them the same thing. Remember, in our previous presentations, I'll cover the fact, in this case of United States versus Williams in 1992, right? Justice Scalia wrote for the court that the independence of grand jury and not needing any supervision at all of any kind by the judges or prosecutors is presupposed. And the grand jury is independent to do its own investigation, and they can independently investigate anything they want. Okay? And here's a California, for example, Court of Appeal Court in 1997, Bradley versus Lacey, saying that grand jury powers with respect to public offices, that it is not a mere handmaid of the district attorney or prosecutor. The grand jury is absolutely independent. Okay? Independent. So, if you're ever called to go before the grand jury, you've been subpoenaed, go. Now, there before the grand jury, you always have to tell the truth. You should always tell the truth. Do not guess. If you're not sure, say, I'm not sure. Okay? About something. Let them know that you're not, clear about what you're saying because you don't know it. If you remember, say, I don't remember. Don't make it up. Okay? So those are basic rules if you're ever called before the grand jury. However, when you get before the grand jury, now you have the right and the duty and the power to talk to these fellow citizens of yours. The jury system is literally the fourth branch of the government. In the federal government, we have it. Some states have it, some don't. The legislature writes the laws. The executive executes the laws, right? And the judiciary interprets the laws. But the fourth branch is the jury service. The juries, okay, the people go out there, not government employees, as grand jurors we accuse, and a trial jury, as 12 of them, by unanimous agreement, can convict criminally, or we can veto the law. Okay, still a law is void, or has been abused again. The law should not apply to this guy because it's been abused, misused for its intent. The guy is not harm to society. Okay, the trial jurors have that power. They're not told to that by the judges or the government lawyers, but they inherently have that power. I'll talk about that in another presentation about jury trials powers to veto bad laws or badly executed laws. But know this, the jury system is really a fourth branch of the government by us people, regular people, not government workers that are regularly paid by government, regularly live off of government. The regular people, as grand jury, trial jurors, are independent. They come and go. We make our living some other way. We don't have to worry about being threatened by, you're going to get fired if you don't convict this guy. Okay? So, when you go before the grand jury, for whatever it is, there's going to be typically a government lawyer, U.S. attorney, okay, assisting the grand jury. At the county level or multi-county level in many states, you have a district attorney or some other prosecutor assisting the grand jury. The problem is most Americans are not taught or know nothing about grand jurors. So grand jurors show up, they know nothing about what the law is. They just look for the government lawyer and maybe a judge way to guide and tell them what to do. The judge stays out of the business because he has no business in the grand jury business. And the government lawyer, the prosecutor, is only an aide, an assistant, professional that's available to the grand jury, but the grand jury does not have to listen to them at all. They can ignore the prosecutor, whether it's attorney general of the state, county lawyer, U.S. attorney. Okay, I mean, after all, occasions do come up that the real criminal is the government agents, the prosecutors and judges themselves. The grand jury is, bottom line, independent. So when you get in there, you can literally talk to grand jurors. That happened to me, by the way. One time I was summoned before a grand jury in New York. I was flown in by the government from California to Washington, D.C., to New York. My airline tickets, my hotel, my food, all that stuff was paid by the government. They asked me about somebody. When I went there, I told the grand jury, hey, now that I'm here, let me tell you, I have information about 9/11, 9/11, what happened, who really did it. And that could help you with that investigation. I don't see who exactly he did it, but I got information about what happened there. I was going to give him the CD of William Rodriguez, a 9/11 survivor, who was the janitor who had the key to the Twin Towers to take him up the stairs, to have him go free people up, which he saved dozens and dozens of lives by doing that, a lot of lives. And he was there. I was going to give him the CD of his talk about what happened on that fateful day on September 11th, 2001. So when I did that, the U.S. attorney like blew a lid. He got pink. And he asked me to be excused. And I told the U.S. attorney, you are not the grand jury. They are the grand jury. You have no power to ask me anything or tell me anything. So he did something else, which I didn't think I wasn't prepared for, but you will be. He asked the 4 women of the grand jury to excuse me. The grand jurors picked one amongst them to be like the coordinator of the group, basically. Okay, foreman or 4 women. And so he asked her, in this case it was a woman, to excuse me, and she did, and I said okay. But I should not have done that, because the 4 women of the grand jury, she did not invite me. The entire grand jury, all of them, 23 in the federal grand jury, they all invited me. And I could have told her, should have told her, look, madam, with all the respect with you, you did not individually invite me here. All the grand jurors, all 23 of you invited me here, and I'm here for all 23 of you. So if all 23 want me to leave, don't want me here anymore, or want to really find out what happened in 911, investigate that, instead of this little tax issue after this guy, okay? You all can talk about it and make a decision. It's your choice. So with all the respect, I'm looking to all the grand jurors, all of you. Hey, if that's okay with you, I think you will care more about 9/11, right? What happened there, rather than this little tax thing, right? After this one guy. Let me share with you on that. And if you guys want me to not talk about it anymore, get back to something else, that of course is your prerogative. Okay? So something like that is what I should have done. Okay? And have a conversation. And let them know, by the way, you can always talk to me later on. You can call me. One of you can meet me later on outside the grand jury. It doesn't have to be here. Or 3 or 5 of you at the coffee shop. You don't have to just be here. They can be outside the grand jury room and investigate. You have the power. They don't know that they do. Yeah, tell them that. Okay? So, in the context of the petitions to the Congress, okay, these up to about the income tax fraud, okay, which you want to get to grand jurors because they can indict the crooks in the IRS. They can indict the DOJ and even the crooked judges as necessary. When you get to before a grand jury, and I suggest, make 25 copies of the petitions. Okay? That's right. I'll be sure your petitions, all 3 of them, have them. Or you want to have the main one, is fine. The income tax one, the one I showed you, that's the main one. 25. Why? Because 23 go to each grand jury. 1 goes to the U.S. Attorney sitting there, and 1 for you. And have, at the same time, 25 copies of our basic brochure, Restore Freedom brochure, Follow the Law, right? That shows how no law requires 99% of Americans to file and pay income and pay all taxes with a $50,000 reward. If anybody can show anything in this brochure to be an error, and they can't do that, of course, right? You give it to each of it, to all of them. So, okay, if you allow me, I'll be gladly go over the brochure, basically. And the petitions go everything in much more detail than the law. So I think what you want to investigate is how the American people been enslaved. and you tell them right off the bat, look, what I'm going to show you is not some cockamamie patriot mythology nonsense like UCC, state sovereign citizen, revocation of election, U.S. national, the birth certificate argument, naming all capital letters, revocation of election, okay? None of that's nonsense or that stuff. No. All we rely upon in this Restore Freedom brochure, I'm going to show you, is IRS 1040 booklet, its instructions, laws as published by House of Representatives at U.S. Code.house.gov by the lawyers of House, U.S. Treasury regulations as published by U.S. government, and U.S. Supreme Court decisions. That is it. The top primary source of law and what the IRS says are consistent with what I'm sharing with you, that you, me, and the American people in the 50 states have been duped and deceived to pay income taxes. We don't have to pay since 1913, so bear with me. I'll cover this for you. If you don't want to do it right now, take it home, you can do that too. This is all my gift to you. Peymon, the president of Freedom Law School, he'll be happy to talk to any of you, one-on-one, 5-to-1 outside, or come here before you, explain all this to you, no problem. He's open about it because he wants to expose the lies of corruption of income tax. He's an immigrant from Iran, where they have no freedom of speech there. You cannot criticize the government, expose the corruption. He doesn't want America to become like Iran, where he came from. Now that's why he got into all this back when he was in his 20s, to restore freedom in America for all of us as Americans. So feel free to call him. Phone number, Freedom Law School. Website is all there. You're welcome to check it out in more detail. Talk to him directly if you want to. And I'm happy to give you an overview to you right now. And then go from there, give him an overview, answer questions as best as you can. All right? And take it from there. Now, by that time, all that stuff goes on, who knows what the U.S. attorney will do. He might stay. He might leave. That's up to him. He should stay. He should look at all this. And if he does leave, you could tell him, Mr. U.S. Attorney, by the way, I'd like to let you stay because you took an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And if I'm right about this, and I could be wrong, but what if I'm right? If I'm right about this, then American people's rights have been violated by the hundreds of millions, by deep state actors. And that's my petitions show. And if that's the case, you want to stop that. You don't know about this either, and that's okay. I'm not blaming you. You didn't know about this stuff, but you will now. And now, you can be the part of the solution. You can be a hero as a U.S. attorney, as a DOJ lawyer, to expose all this and stop all this criminality. Okay? And with the 8 week, you can assist the grand jury to indict the responsible individuals who are doing this to American people and stop the American people from being robbed. Trillions of dollars every year. Most Americans live paycheck to paycheck. They have nearly no savings or no savings at all. They're in debt. 3 out of 5 Americans live off their credit cards, end up paying over 20 to 30% interest rate or more to survive, to pay for groceries. Why? Because the employers are deceived and duped to rob the employee of part of his paycheck right off the bat, make him poor with employment taxes they don't owe or income taxes they don't owe. Same thing goes for people that work for themselves. Their accountants, CPA, tax attorneys deceive them to pay income taxes they don't owe. They can barely survive. So you can be instrumental to assist the grand jury in this investigation versus doing it on their own. They have the power to do so. Okay? So that's where you take that. But one thing else you want to do when you're in there, I forgot to mention to you guys, is take your articles about jury power. Take that with you. The main one to take is a grand jury power to charge corrupt criminal public officials. Okay? That's the one. Or grand jury power exposed. That's the one, yeah. The other one. We got to fix the names of these things, yeah. Let me show that to you again. The one that says grand jury power to charge corrupt criminal public officials. We got to complete that name, by the way. Okay? This article explains the grand jury's independent powers to investigate any crime within the jurisdiction or legal power of the grand jurors within the geographical district where the grand jury operates. Okay? This shows your independence. This shows you don't need the district attorney. You don't need the judge. You're completely independent, and you have more power than the prosecutor or the judge. They cannot charge someone in a federal court with a serious crime like a felony. Only you can do that. All 23 regular citizens. That's what the founding fathers envisioned. That's why system is still there. You're in this big building. They're familiar with it. You're not. You think they have more power than you. They don't. You have more power than them. So here, I'm giving you, each of you, one of the copies of this article so that you can educate yourself further about your power and independence, which was not told to you. Okay? So you have an empowered grand jury that knows their independence and their powers. Okay? Now, one thing that comes up, people say, oh, Peymon, you might worry about, how about jury tampering? Oh, you might be charged with tampering with a jury. BS. You're not tampering with a jury. Tampering with the jury was when you corruptly try to influence the jury to do something illegal or deceive them. Lying to them. Or getting somebody to lie to the grand jury or deceive the grand jury. Or jury. Or any court process. You're not doing that at all. You're simply exercising your First Amendment right to petition the government for redress of your grievances by speaking to grand jurors. Give them oral information, give them written information, and let the grand juries decide what they want to do. Do you want to indict somebody or not? That's completely their decision. So, incompetent, ignorant lawyers have said this, oh, don't be jury tampering. But the law doesn't say that you cannot contact the grand jurors. It's your right. That's what the grand jury is there. There's no need for a gatekeeper to keep you away from the grand jurors because they do try to keep you away from the grand jurors. They shouldn't be doing that. In Orange County, California, as I told you guys before, I was talking with some corrupt judges. And I walked up to the district attorney, prosecutor, ignored everything I said. Said, oh, I see nothing wrong with what the judge did. He charged me for not being in court for the same day that I was supposed to be there, and I was there. And then I challenged it in court. I got the judge on the stand. The other judge was trying it, and they railroaded me to jail, gave me 6 months of prison, county jail. I got out within 23 days. Okay? Yeah, the crooked judges can do that. They gave the manipulated the jury. That's what he did, jury tampering. The judge. So I was going to take the complaint to the grand jury. I literally had a deputy district attorney and some sheriff deputies stand in front of the grand jury room where they sit to not let me knock on the door and say, hello, my name is Peymon Montede. I want to report some crimes to you. You had no authority to do that. Okay? But they abused that power anyways. So you have a right to go to your fellow Americans in a grand jury and speak with them, share information. Do not worry about that. Ignorant lawyers tell you, oh, jury tampering. You're not jury tampering. Again, as long as you don't lie, tell them the truth, you be respectful, the grand jurors, everything is fine and good. All right? So with that, I hope you got enough information. You want to go to jurypower.org and educate yourself about all this. Okay? Go to our website and really get to know jury powers. Read these articles I got here, okay, on the jury power. We're going to put the videos on here also very soon on this website, okay? And the book, The People's Panel, okay, is the book on the jury power that'll give you a really deep understanding of juries' independence and power to clean up government in America. So with that, people, I want you to be free. I want America to be free. I want you to be prosperous and have choices in your life, how you want to live your life. But I cannot do it for you. You have to choose to educate yourself. You have to go to our websites, jurypower.org, to learn about grand jury powers. If you're grand jurors, you can educate your fellow grand jurors. Take our brochures. Take our articles about grand jury power. Take them to your fellow grand jurors. Educate them. Okay? If you're a witness, again, you exercise these rights. And remember, go to our website, freedomlawschool.org, okay, and take the 7 steps to free yourself of IRS deception, okay, IRS fear, robbery, and slavery. You got to fight for your freedom, folks. It's not going to be free. You have to fight to drain the swamp, okay? That's what the founding fathers did. The 7 steps of there, the first 5 steps are free. Cost you 0. Take these steps. Follow the law. Okay? And then stop filing income tax forms. Stop putting a rope around your neck by signing those 1040 confession forms under oath, under the penalty of perjury, telling the IRS that you owe them money. Okay? And then realize IRS are based on bluff. They're the Wizard of Oz. Okay? They got you, Dorothy, and her friends scared by deception with the major media's cooperation and assistance. Okay? Trick number 4, realize we have beat the IRS. They are not a good zealot. They're a little toothless, fireless lizard. If you don't file, if you don't sign those 1040 confession forms and admit you owe the IRS money, okay? And then you should question authority, okay? You don't have to pay tribute to the beast. It's really slavery. It's really Satan. IRS, you pick the one that fits your conscience. Okay? Because that's what it's about. Question them. Why am I paying income tax when there's no law requiring me to? And then if you choose, you have the spirit of America's founding fathers in you to restore freedom. You really want to be part of restoring America to be a free country once again, like it was meant to be, and it can be. Well, in case you're one of those guys, then let's get together. Let's join hands and restore freedom. You can join our Restore Freedom plan. Don't pay the IRS nothing, and we'll guarantee everything for you 100% safety that will not take any money. You're not going to go to prison. And then on top of that, step 7, hey, folks, become a modern-day Paul Revere. Expose the truth of the law to your fellow Americans and restore America to its greatness. Restore American families again, okay? Y'all can take your part and do something about all this. So with that, I give you my love and I invite you to listen to our videos as you drive to and from work or shopping. That's right. Watch the road. Listen to our videos, okay, at freedomlawschool.org and jurypower.org. And at lunch or dinner, breakfast, these 12-page Restore Freedom brochure, very easy to read. Big print, easy to read. Flip through them while eating and educate yourself. Oh, wow. By the way, we'll mail this to you free of charge. That's right. As many as you want, go to our website, freedomlawschool.org, or call us at 813-444-4800. We'll mail the brochures to you and put your name and phone number with a private 9-digit number we'll give you. Yes. So that we'll pay you when someone else joins our Restore Freedom plan to restore America to freedom. It's a win-win deal. Can't make it easier or better than that. So with that, thank you for being with me. I'll be back with you next week again.